What up everyone, how you doing? And welcome to another video. But before I start yapping, you're probably all wondering where I've been. And to answer that, it's because of this video. This video took me a while to make. I started this video back in December, and I was supposed to get it up before Christmas. And look, it's already a new year. It's 2025. Matter of fact, it's almost the end of January. This video took a lot of time to make. But now I finally present you with this video, the Block Museum. What's a Block Museum? The Block Museum has all the blocks in Minecraft. Well, not all of them, but most of them. It started from 1.0 to 1.21, which is the base game, all the way to the Tricky Trials and the Garden Awakens. It seems like a lot, and it is, because I had to collect hundreds of different blocks in the game. There were some blocks that were in my warehouse, and there were some that I would have to go find in the overworld. Now, collecting the blocks didn't take most of the time. It was the museum itself. I decided to make it underground, and because of that, I had to mine out a bunch of blocks. But then I had an idea. I was almost done with the museum, and then I got this idea. It was another way I can make the museum, but since I was almost done with the museum I was working on, I decided to keep this idea for the future when I'm in the mood to fix the block museum. Maybe in the future, somebody in the comments will remind me about this idea. Not right now, but later. Now it's time to review the museum. As you can see, I used smooth stone as the flooring and the ceiling. I used stone bricks for the walls, and I had frog lights as lighting and maybe displaying the blocks. Every block has a 2-block gap to give some space, and I have 12 blocks for every row. I feel like I could have done better, but this took too much time for me and I don't feel like fixing it right now. I'm going to keep this video short by giving reviews and summaries on some of the blocks and the updates. Now, it's time to review these blocks, starting off with 1.0. The base game had a lot of blocks to collect, which makes sense because it's the beginning of the game and Mojang wanted to have a lot of unique blocks to show in the game. And I'm so glad that I decided to make this museum when they added bundles. They were a huge help in storing these blocks and making it easier to transport them. Now, early in the video, I mentioned that I can't get all the blocks because they can only be obtained in creative. For example, the bedrock monster spawner and the eye portal frame. There are more blocks like these that are behind the creative menu. And then later I decided to fix some minor problems with the museum and its blocks. That's all I had to talk about in this update. Now it's time for 1.2. I'm continuing to 1.2 since 1.1 didn't have any blocks to give us. But 1.2 was small, it gave us the jungle biome, so there were only 4 blocks that the update gave us. It was an easy one. We're now on 1.3, this one was also small, it gave us more blocks than the last. In this update we were given the wood plank variants for birch, jungle, and spruce. And we got emeralds. That's cool, now on to the next update. 1.4, also known as the pretty scary update. This update added the anvil, beacons, potatoes, and carrots. This update also added villagers and the wither. But one thing that bugs me is the Wither Skeleton Skull. I've been looking up a lot of wikis, and sometimes they say the Wither Skeleton Skull came out in 1.4 or 1.8. So I put it in with 1.8 since the other skulls were added in 1.8. 1.5, the Redstone update. I don't need to say much. This update added different redstone blocks and components. Very important nowadays. This update also added quartz and quartz blocks. A good decorative block. These were simple to get. 1.6. The horse update. This update added horses and colorful blocks. But the colorful blocks were annoying to get because of inventory management and I kept forgetting a few blocks. This also happened with later updates that also had colorful blocks. But eventually I got the blocks. 1.7. The update that changed the world? This update added different flowers, wood variants, and stained glass. Yep, more colorful blocks to collect. I mean, the stained glass looks cool. The one thing I like about this update was the flowers in the savanna biome. 1.8, the Adventure Update, or the Bountiful Update. This update added a lot of good and useful blocks like banners, sponges, prismarine, more wood decorations, and 3 of my favorite decorative blocks. Actually, I don't know if I consider these 3 of my favorite blocks. I've mined so many of these that I just like to get rid of them by using them in builds. 1.9, the Combat Update. This update added the Endshitty and more end-related blocks like the Purple Block, Endstone Bricks, and the famous End Rod. Now I'm going to leave the End Crystals in an item frame just for safety reasons. This update is giving me Legacy Console vibes, and hopefully you all know what I'm talking about. 1.10, the Frostburn Update. It's a small update. It added 4 blocks. There's nothing much to talk about except this update added 2 mobs with a cool variety. It's not like we're gonna see more of that in the future, right? Yeah? Yeah? 1.11, the Exploration Update. It's the update that introduced the Illagers, the colorful shulker boxes, and the Observer. I'm surprised there weren't any more unique blocks to collect, which made this update easy. 1.12, the World of Color Update. And yeah, it's another update with more colorful blocks to collect. This one took a while to get done, but luckily I had a tactic for colorful blocks which made collecting these fast. Also, does anybody use glazed terracotta? I know there are some that are good for decorating, but there are some that are questionable. Let me know in the comments if you use them. 1.13, the Aquatic Update. This update is memorable with the changes to swimming, oceans, lakes, and any other stuff that's related to water. This update is one of my favorites. Now, there were more blocks added to this update compared to the last updates I was talking about. This one introduced colorful beds, more wood decorations, coral, and stripped wood. Now, these were easy to get, except I was trying to find a way to show off the coral blocks. The coral blocks need to be in water for them to stay alive, and eventually I found a way to do it by putting water around the block in the floor. This one did take some time to finish. 1.14, the Village and Pillage Update. The update that overhauled the villagers and added pillagers. This also gave us stations for the villagers, which allowed them to trade certain items depending on the station. The blocks that they added were also great, allowed most of the stone variants to have slabs, stairs, and walls. We were also given the Stone Cutter. It allowed us to save some time from crafting, and we got scaffolding. It's useful for builds that require some height. 1.15, the Buzzy Bees Update. This update added the bees, the Buzzy Bees, the bees that give you honey. The honey you can use to craft certain honey-related blocks. It truly is a Buzzy Bee certified update, and it only added 4 blocks to the game. 1.16, the Nether Update. This update overhauled the Nether. It was a great update to fix the Nether. I remember when the Nether was just plain and boring, but then Mojang blessed us with an update. Now my last video showed me getting blocks from 1.16, but if you didn't see it, it's okay. This update gave us some Nether-related blocks like Crimson Wood, Warped Wood, Basalt, Blackstone, and the Blackstone variants. The blocks were easy to get, except for one. This one took some time to get. It was the block of Netherite. It took a lot of mining to get, but eventually I got it. And I don't plan on making a Netherite beacon, okay? 1.17 and 1.18, the Caves and Cliffs Update. I'm combining these 2 updates since they were split, and one of the updates only gave us world generation and one for blocks. The blocks that we were given were caves themed. We got amethyst, colorful candles, copper, deep slate, and its variants. This update added a bunch of blocks to collect, but since some were in my warehouse, it made this part easy. 1.19, the Wild Update. You could say this update was wild for adding a big structure known as the Ancient City, but what's even wilder is the blocks that were added. We were given mud bricks, froglites, skulk blocks, and a new type of wood called mangrove. With its variants of decorative blocks, you could say it's a wild update. 1.20, the Trails and Tales update. This update gave us a new biome, some hard to find smithing templates, and some pottery sherds. And it also gave us some new blocks that we can enjoy. For example, we got bamboo wood blocks and cherry wood blocks, yet again with their variants. We were also given hanging signs and some new plants. Collecting these blocks from this update was easy and fun to do. And now we're on the latest update, 1.21, the Tricky Trials, Bundles of Bravery, and the Garden Awakens update. The Tricky Trials update gave us the trial chambers. These chambers are good for getting loot in the early stages of the game. It added new blocks. We got more copper block variants, tough block variants, and the crafter. Now there was one block that took a lot of time from me. It was the heavy core. The way you have to find this heavy core is through the trial vaults. It has a small drop rate, and the amount of time it took from me, you could see that I wasn't so lucky in finding one. But eventually I got it. I don't feel like stepping foot in another trial chamber. The Bundles and Bravery didn't add any new blocks, but the Garden Awakens did. It added yet another wood type and its variants, the Pale Oak. It also added a new weird block called the Resin Block. That block also has variants. I did have to go to a Pale Garden to retrieve these blocks, and eventually I did. I can now say that I have collected all the blocks in the game. For now. Apparently there's going to be a spring drop that I heard about, but I'll update the museum when it comes out. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video, and leave a like. It lets me know you liked the video. Yes? And if this video gets 10 likes, I will get all the items in my Minecraft world in the future. So have a good day. See you all later. Goodbye.